Welcome to enVisioning Success, the weekly podcast that's your prescription for business clarity. In today's episode, we unlock the mysteries of mergers and acquisitions, showing you how to seize opportunities for growth and revealing why they could be your path to prosperity. Listen up and elevate your business game.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Laura. I am the hostess with the mostest, with the co-hostess with the also mostest. This is Julia Becker-Collins. And
Hello.
We are proud to be the sponsors of this show through Vision Advertising, celebrating our 25th anniversary. We are here to help you make a ton of money and be happy. So that's what the show's all about. The last couple of weeks, we have been talking about helping you to increase the value of your company. So first week, we were talking about identifying new markets and frontiers, and that's an important subject. If you haven't listened to that episode, make sure you go back and listen to it. There's a lot of value in there. Also a lot of giggles because it was our maiden voyage and we don't know what the hell we're doing, but that's okay.
We're figuring it out. We're doing great.
That's cool. What do we do every night, Pinky?
Same thing. Try to take over the world.
We punt.
Mm-hmm.
In episode 2, we talked about building strategic partnerships and collaborations and why you would do that and how to make money. Make sure you listen to that one as well. Next week, we're going to be wrapping up this 4-episode series, and we're going to be focusing on the risks and rewards of business diversification. Ultimately, all of this is designed to help you make a lot of money before you sell, and also after you sell. Both of those times are pretty darn important. And you know what? You might need not ever sell. You might retain it as a passive income asset. And that's something we'll get to as well. But the major theme here is expanding and diversifying your mature company. So as a 25-year-old company, ours can vote, it can buy alcohol, still cannot rent a car.
Yep. Well, I think it's changed in some states. I think now it's 21.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's horrifying. Have you been on the roads recently?
Well, I've been over 21 for a long time, so it's not.
What are you talking about? I'm still 29.
Sure. In other pieces of fiction, let's move on. All right, so let's talk about these mergers and acquisitions. So Julia, I love you. You just had a serious case of the giggles because we were talking about Christian Bale in American Psycho.
Excellent movie.
So in the quote unquote green room before this, we were talking about, this isn't mergers and acquisitions. It's, what is it?
Murders and executions.
Fabulous. So we had the giggles over that one. That was a good one. I'm telling you, man, we got to probably start including the bloopers because they're better than the show.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like we said in the last episode, truth is kind, and my truth is sometimes I'm giggly, and that's just how it goes.
Yep. Cool. So when it comes to mergers and acquisitions,
murders and executions,
or those, you do need to be selective in both.
You
can't just go murdering everybody. God, this show is taking a dark turn. Anyway, you want to think about ways to grow, ways to increase the value of your company. And you can grow by more than just going out there and hustling your buns off and dialing for dollars and trying to sell and get new clients and get new clients and get new clients. I mean, been there, done that. Partnerships are one way, which we talked about last week. And that's one way to increase, your outward value of the company and what it can do and blah, blah, blah. But also merging with another company or acquiring another company, or perhaps one exit strategy would be being acquired. There's so much here to unpack. I want to be real clear. I'm a marketing and business expert. I'm not an M&A expert or an M&E expert, as Julia wants to call it. Murders and executions.
And we are not giving out legal advice.
Nope. Oh, there's the disclaimer. Thank you so much for that.
That's what I'm here for.
So, I think about Vision advertising, obviously. I think about also what our clients are dealing with. And it's been so interesting to see just over the last 25 years, like what they've done, what I've talked about, We also, we've worked with M&A people as clients, and obviously we have to become pseudo experts in that field in order to be able to write for them and market for them and everything. And I've taken a lot out of this. And I would say the way that you choose to grow is going to really be dependent on what your business structure is and what your ultimate goal is.
Yep. Agreed. What opportunities do you see in M and A? That was a tough one. Sorry.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities there for essentially any business owner, believe it or not. I mean, considering the show is geared towards the mature business owner, not so much that you're old, but that your business has some age to it. You have more options available to you than a startup would have. And there's actually multiple ways to do it. We can, for example, just for our own company, in the last episode, we talked about tiny little companies. If they have a really good client base of established businesses, because that's who we work with, that would actually be a great company for us to acquire. We would buy them out, then we would it's probably going to be a solopreneur, but this would be somebody who would want to be bought out for a lump sum or on an earn out. And then we add that person to our staff temporarily or permanently. And because not everybody likes the idea of being a business owner. And a lot of business owners are like, I didn't know I was going to have to sell. Yeah, you are. That's how you grow.
Well, a lot of business owners get into it because they're good at something, but they're not necessarily good at running a business.
Well, yeah, because they want to own the job. They don't necessarily want to own a company. And those are two very different things.
Right. We talked about restaurants last episode, and one of the things we see all the time is the executive chef is the owner of the restaurant, and they're very invested in creating the food and doing amazing things, but they don't understand or want to understand the marketing, the operations, the human resources, the taxes, the liability, paying the rent, etc.
Yep. Honestly, sometimes these make wonderful partnerships or acquisitions, because in the case of a partnership, you would be merging with that company and you would be providing things that they suck at or just flat out don't want to do. So I'll give you a great example of, something I suck at. I'm notably awful at accounting. I failed accounting in college. For some reason, math and me are just not friends. And then whenever they change the damn state sales tax in Massachusetts from 5% to like 6 and whatever the hell it is, I'm like, well, there goes the only thing I was ever good at, because 5% was easily divisible into 10. And I was like, well, this sucks. So in that case, if I were to partner with another company and they actually had someone internal that could do that function, great, you're solving one of my problems. So when you think about mergers, you can solve a lot of problems. If you notice that you've got complementary problems and complementary solutions, it could be two restaurants decide to get together where maybe someone's really not that great at the food, but they're really, really good at the business side of things. Then they partner with a company where the executive chef is artistic and they're really amazing, but they suck at the business side. That would actually be a really good partnership and a good merger opportunity. Although on the surface, it might not look like it, because you'd be like, oh, I want to have the same food standards at both. Yeah, but you can elevate both standards at the same time.
Right. We have a client that was recently acquired. He has been working at his company for decades, for forever. And he was working 60, 80-hour weeks, and he's in his 70s, and it just was not sustainable anymore. So part of what he really wanted to be able to do when he was acquired was to dial it back to about 30 hours a week. He didn't want to deal with the nitty-gritty of the building and the hiring and the firing. He wanted to do his job and not have it burn him out 24/7. And he wanted to have an exit strategy, and he's staying on board for a few years, but somebody else is dealing with the headaches.
Yep. Yeah, I remember talking to him about this, and I was like, is that the guy? Yeah, that's the guy. He's he's a sweet man. He probably should have done this like a long time ago.
Yes.
But like many of you listening, he had a life change that inspired this. He's a grandpa now. That's exciting. And he wants to spend time with these tiny little bouncy cherubs. Who can blame him?
Right.
So
like we always say, there's more to life than just working. So you have to make decisions about how you're going to lead that life and run that life.
And honestly, that's a major consideration for how you would choose to partner or not, to acquire or not, to be acquired or not, sell stock or not. There's multiple ways to exit a company. And again, so not an M&A expert or an M&E expert. I am neither of those things. Thank God on the second one. But you can still get a lot of information just out of this. Like, you have options. Like I was joking about in our first episode, we talked about how one of our clients' exit strategy so far has been the grave, and that is not an exit strategy.
I honestly think they didn't have an exit strategy.
No,
I
they
think they
don't.
weren't thinking about it.
Well, no, because, at some point in life, you just think like, oh, well, I can just do this forever and it's what I know. And you get accustomed to a certain lifestyle financially. And it doesn't occur to you that, oh, I could exit and I could actually keep my current lifestyle standards, but you can. And there's multiple ways to do things. I mean, I remember once upon a time, I wasn't sure what to do with vision advertising and I was getting burnt out. That's why Julia's here.
Hey.
So I started the company. She came in many, many years later, and it gave me an opportunity to add greater quality to my life while getting help in some of the areas that I'm really, really shitty. Yeah, I'm not an
Operations.
expert. Yes, I was just about to bring that up. I am not good at operations. I'm awful at it, but you are amazing at it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's been honestly wonderful to have the stability, and that's really what can happen when you think about mergers. It can also create a lot of instability if you choose the wrong partner. So let's talk about what happens if you don't choose the correct partner. If you get someone who's a really poor fit for you, you're going to get someone who's going to fight with you.
Yep.
On everything. They're going to hold contempt for you. They're going to do things so differently from the way that you do them that it's intolerable. Now, I want to be really clear. Some of us business owners suck at delegating. I am the over delegator. I'm like, can I do literally nothing? That would be great. Fire me, please. Fire me early and often. But most people are not built like me. And I know that, like, really, really struggle with letting things go. I'm going to throw my husband under the bus. He's my business partner in my third company. He is terrible at letting things go. He wants things a certain way, and that's fine. But part of his maturity as a business owner will come with also daily lessons from me of, honey, let that go. Just because they're doing it differently doesn't make it wrong. But in the case of a merger or acquisition or something like that going badly and a really poor fit is if their variance is intolerable to you. A, if you haven't worked on yourself so you can delegate. B, they haven't worked on themselves so they can partner and adjust. And there's no meeting of the minds. You have to be able to communicate. And if you don't, it will 100% go off the rails and you're going to wish that you never did it.
Right. It's the same idea as bringing on a business partner. Do you want to spend a lot of time with this person? Do you want to have daily conversations with this person? If you're acquired, most of the time what happens is that you still have to stay on for a few years. So do you want to deal with that person in that company? If you merge with a company, same thing. You have to talk to those people all the time. And like we said last episode, do they make your skin crawl? Because if they do, probably not a great fit.
Yeah. Is it too people-y out there? Like, you just got to really think about it. But no, that's a really good point. And it actually goes back to the same thing that we talked about last episode: head, heart, wallet, heart first. Like, you have to really like the people that you're going to be working with. Either, again, you acquire, you get acquired, you merge. Do you want to really be in bed with these people? You really have to think about that. There's also going to be other issues of trust. Like, you really have to do your homework. You really have to make sure that you fully vet these people. You get references, like a lot of references. You need personal references. Do I know these people? I get references for Julia. I wasn't just be like, hey, I just met you 5 minutes ago. Want a partner? No, like I knew her and I had community knowledge of her. So that's really important. Like I can't even imagine. Like just being like, yeah, you're cool, want to do business. No, you really have to do your homework. And a proper merger and acquisition expert is going to help you do your due diligence to make sure that it's going to be a good thing. It's also not a short process. You're looking at generally 3 months on the extremely low end, but typically starting at 6 to anywhere to 2 years for the due diligence phase, depending on what you're working on. There's a lot of variables. And we know M&A people. I don't know any M&E people, but.
Well, you hope you don't know any M&E people.
Given the way my husband can be in traffic, maybe I do. I don't know.
There you go.
So when we think about all of these things, the other thing for us to consider would also be, do you really have to do it? Is that the only way to grow? And the answer is you don't have to.
Right. So can you talk to us a little bit about why you would or why you wouldn't decide to go through a merger or acquisition?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a solo business owner, as I was for many years, I made the decisions myself and it would come down to my preferences and what I wanted. For years, my own experience was the buck stops with me. I'm tired of doing everything alone. And this is just a lot. It's just a lot.
Right.
So I was ready to have someone else join the Laura show. So it's now the Laura and Julia show, but not everybody's ready. Hey. It's not for everyone, but if you have a partnership, both of you have to want it. Or if there's multiple people in your organization, like with my third company, there are 13 shareholders. And my husband and I are just 2 of them. So, it's not something where I'm going to call 100% of the shots when we decide to do something like that. I have a vote, not the vote. In the case of vision advertising, I no longer have the vote. It is the we vote. It has to be something that she and I want together. And it really comes down to, what do I want for my life? What does Julia want for her life? What do we need as a company? What are we trying to accomplish? And it's funny, I was thinking about this earlier. Like, girl, I have been looking at your face for 7 freaking years, man. You look the same.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I will take that compliment every day. I mean, to speak to what you were saying about having a vote, having the vote, working with other people, I think one of the other important things to think about is, you don't have to agree on everything. Laura and I don't always agree on things, but do your skill sets complement each other? Right. So we were talking earlier about that I'm really good at operations and Laura is atrocious at it. I say that with love.
I'm looking forward to the compliment that is hopefully forthcoming. Lay it on me, sister.
No problem. I'm here for it. Laura is really excellent at sales. I am good at sales, but it's not my number one hot ticket item. She thinks more huge picture and I tend to be more in the middle. So we have really complementary skill sets. So the other thing that I think happens is people are like, well, I just want a yes person who's going to agree with me. And that is not necessarily the best thing because you're trying to expand the portfolio. You want to expand what you're bringing to the table. And the best way to do that is to have somebody that, again, has that complementary skill set.
That's a really good point. You really don't want a yes person. Our business has gotten better because you have said no well. And because I have said no well. It's like, it's not just me being an obstinate little asshole when I'm saying no to you. And the same is true of you. Like, you always have a reason and then we talk it out and it's like, oh, that's a good point. Or this is what we're doing. It really just depends. And sometimes the things that are necessary for the business are things we don't like, but too flippin' bad. I don't care if you don't like it. This is what's best for the business, this baby that we are now co-parents of.
Right, right. Can you imagine having long-term conversations and telling truth to that person and having them tell you truth that maybe you don't like over many years? We're talking about evaluating with your heart. That's also with your head, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel comfortable having uncomfortable conversations with this person?
Yeah. And are you willing to be honest? And are you willing to be wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing
Mm-hmm.
to lose arguments because you trust that person so much? And this is,
Yep.
it's something that I evaluated with you, Julia. It's also something that I evaluated with Amadeo. That's my husband. Do I trust him as my business partner enough to accept his leadership and let him shine in the areas I suck?
Right.
And these are really good, like, self-reflection questions that you should consider. If your company is between like 50 million, 10 million, somewhere in that range, this isn't going to be your first time at the rodeo with these conversations. You've probably already been really reflective and figuring out how you can be your best self, how you can become a better listener, a better collaborator. But if you've never considered merger, acquisition, partnership, yada, 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 before, you may have been very comfortable with the buck stopping with you and you always getting your way. And you could have, and I'm not saying this is the case, you could have grown your company by force and we're doing everything my way.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't tolerate any other way of being, you should probably not seek to merge with another company. You might wish to just flat out acquire. You might wish to decline opportunities to be acquired unless it's a straight up buyout or something with like a long-term earn out for you. Just when you think about how and why and when you exit, you got to figure who the hell you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be okay with somebody else making the decisions. I have a friend who is in pharma and life science, and she was moving up the chain, moving into personnel management, taking on a big role, et cetera. We were out to dinner one night, and she said to me, well, you've been in C-suite leadership for so long. How do you balance making the big decisions and being in the nitty gritty? And I looked at her and I go, you can't do everything. And you have to be okay with delegating, with the decisions that the other people make, with trusting your team to make the correct decision. I know in future episodes, we're going to have long conversations about team retention and recruitment, et cetera. And that all plays into it as well, because you need to trust the people that work for you and the people that you partner with to make the best decisions, because the best way for you to lead, whether you are leaving and exiting the company or you plan to stay on for a little bit, is to have other people do some of the work. You can't do everything.
Mm-hmm. I told you I'm the over delegator. I didn't start out that way. But one thing that I did quite well, and I'm very happy with this. We can talk about the shit I didn't do so well another time, but that's a long list. One of the things I did really, really well is train people really thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they don't do it the exact way, I trusted it. I could trust their decision-making process. And Julia, you and I went through this in the first year. You stole stuff from me, be like, Laura, love you, you're fired. All right.
Yep.
And it was awkward, right? And even though I was accustomed to delegating a lot of things, I wasn't used to delegating those things,
right,
the
high
executive
level
things. I wasn't used to that. And it was terrifying. And it's important for the person who's taking it to create trust, but it's also important for the person who's giving it to create trust. And I think you and I navigated that really well. You did a great job at creating the trust. I did a great job at giving the trust, but I'd also done that over the years in giving people lots of room. Here's thorough training. Here's thorough expectations I'm setting. Now go forth and do a good job. And it's okay if you do it differently, but get the same damn result or better.
Right. Right. Setting expectations is incredibly important. So when you're evaluating partnerships, if you're evaluating a merger or acquisition, setting those expectations up front, having the big, difficult conversations, as we like to say here at Vision Advertising, talk about your big feelings. Talk about the uncomfortable things, talk about the money, talk about what you want, talk about your goals. Nobody will win if you hide all of that.
Amen. Well, we're going to put a bow on it right there. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Once again, I'm joined with the lovely and talented Julia Becker-Collins.
Hey.
And
that's going to be my sign off. That's like now my tagline. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
It is today. I love it. I'm here for it. And I am Laura DiBenedetto. The show is sponsored lovingly by Vision Advertising. If you need any sort of marketing support, a business kick in the pants, consulting, blah, 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 we are here for you. Give us a thought, give us a call. Just remember, listen to the last 2 episodes if you found this one particularly useful. And next week, you won't want to miss this because we're going to be doing a nice wrap up of some of these subjects that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. And we're going to be getting into the overall risk and reward of business diversification, branching into new areas, how and why, what it does, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to round out this great subject and theme of expanding and diversifying your mature company. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.